Spiritual beings. Today we discuss on our new edition of Cardio and Consciousness. Not really our new edition, our continuing edition. If you are not on your bicycle or your treadmill or anything, start doing some jumping jacks. Do some cardio while we do some consciousness expansion. Today our discussion is going to be on the four immeasurables of Buddhism. Now, why do you ask this? Because they're really, really pertinent to our spiritual journey. I just recently, I don't know how I just learned about these after 19 years of this spiritual journey. But yeah, I wanted to share this information because it just so perfectly coincides not just with our spiritual awakening, but with manifesting. So with that being said, throw your comments and questions and all your other good stuff in the chat below so we can have some fun and we can make this a more dynamic engagement. My heart rate's going up. I hope your heart rate's going up, so just give me a second and we'll get into it. But the four measurables, as my heart rate is elevating, I'm going to give them to you really quick. Number 1, loving kindness. Number 2, compassion. Number 3, sympathetic joy. And number 4, equanimity. Whew, heart rate's getting up. Sorry, my legs are already sore. Remember, you do your cardio with me. We can suffer together and also awaken together. But those are our four immeasurables. And so, Buddha says, or at least the story of what Buddha says about these four immeasurables is, even if you don't achieve enlightenment in this life, if you will have incorporated those four immeasurables, these four qualities into your life, you will have released a lot of karma, and in your next life, you'll have a much more enjoyable life. But those four immeasurables also apply when we start talking about them, right? It's just the beginning. But as we start talking about them, when we can incorporate these four measurables, loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity into our lives, our manifestational power increases exponentially. Why? Because we are immediately, completely, fully aligning with Source, with our inner beings. And so, with no further ado, loving kindness. Number 1, let's just talk about it really quickly. Loving kindness, obviously, I think from the name, we can assume that loving kindness is this extension of loving kindness to all beings. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. May all beings be loved. And so it's this almost, I don't want to say impersonal, but this generalized feelings of expressing love and kindness through thought and through action. Right? Seeing others with a loving and kind gaze. Seeing them as also on their own spiritual path. It's loving kindness. Number 2, compassion. I love the quote about, there's one of the definitions of compassion I heard was a sympathetic consciousness of another's suffering or distress with the desire to alleviate it. Wow, just a sympathetic consciousness. I understand. I feel for you. My heart goes out to you, right? We've been talking about this, right? When we did our how do you keep your heart open in hell? It's that compassion. It's the aligning of the heart and of the spirit, right? I feel for you, and I see that we will get through this together, right? I see your suffering, and I want you to be free from it, and I will see you in all your glory, in all your spiritual grace. Number 3, sympathetic joy. Super easy, great practice. You can do this with anyone. It is a feeling of joy for others' successes, right? It is this excitement and the true feeling of joy, of exuberance, of excitement for somebody else's successes. That's such a powerful practice. If we just go around when somebody says, "Oh, hey, Zach, I did this today. Oh, that's so freaking awesome. Good job. Way to kick butt." Oftentimes, we can kind of be a little negative Nancy's. Sometimes I do that. Well, why didn't you do this? And, well, why didn't you do that also? Well, you did that. Why didn't you do that? All right, it's not celebrating the wins, right? Celebrating our wins, that sympathetic joy. Being truly excited, truly exuberant, feeling true joy for another person's success in whatever form that may come from them. And then number 4, equanimity. This one's a tough practice. Equanimity is that steadiness of mind, right? It's the evenness, it's the balance of the mind, not allowing the winds and the waves to throw us off the boat, but being a skilled sailor, right? A smooth sea never made a skilled sailor. It's being a very smooth sailor in the waters of life. And so that's equanimity, staying balanced, seeing through the good and the bad. It's a Taoist principle also, right? It's that steadiness, it's that ease. It is the way, it's the Tao. So those are our 4 immeasurables. And so obviously, from the descriptions, I think you can see, man, if I incorporated those 4 things, loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity into my life, wow, I'm gonna have a different perspective on how I'm living and on how others are living. And I can be a more aligned individual, can feel that immediate joy, that immediate emotional shift within myself when I start to even think of how I could incorporate those into my daily process, right? Into my daily life, even if it's just towards myself, right? Loving kindness towards yourself, compassion towards yourself, sympathetic joy for yourself, and equanimity, right? And all those things. So even if you're using the mirror and reflecting backwards, and you have nobody else to use those on, which obviously you probably do, that's such a beautiful practice because it's going to immediately start elevating us in a spiritual space, but also just on a really tangible, vibrational, emotional state. Joy is that alignment with Source. Love is full alignment with Source. Balanced mind, equanimity, allows us to choose thoughts that help us stay in alignment with Source, with our inner beings, and compassion removes us from the ego, right? It separates us, it brings us out of the ego and into the heart. And when we're in the heart, we can make choices, thoughts, words, actions that help us align with Source. When I have compassion for somebody else, I see that we're all in this together. It's not just me running the rat race. We're all doing this, we're all playing this game together. Ram Dass says, we're all just walking each other home. In that state, when I recognize I'm not alone in this, I'm united with all other beings. May all living beings be free. May all living beings be happy. May all living beings be free from suffering. I align myself with Source. I begin to recognize myself in them. So hum, the mantra, so hum. I am that. Compassion, I am that. So, those are our 4 immeasurables. We've gone over them. You are now masters of the 4 immeasurables. I am not, so you have to teach me about them now. But how we apply that towards manifesting is wonderful. It's so simple because Paramahansa Yogananda said, I'm not even allowed, he said this in one of his books, I can't even allow myself to truly want something because if I truly want something, I cannot stop it from coming into my life. Why did Paramahansa Yogananda say that? Because he was living those principles. He was in such an aligned state with Source, with God, with his inner being, that it was flowing like a raging river. The Source energy, the life force energy, the chi, the Tao, was flowing so fast through him that, excuse me, I keep burping up my soup that Shauna made. I apologize. It was flowing so strongly through him that external reality had no choice but to align with what his desire was. Right? It was just rushing So he said that in his books, I couldn't desire something too long, because as soon as I did and I truly, earnestly felt that desire, it would flood into my experience. That's why the four immeasurables are so powerful. First off, you're going to gain freedom. You're going to gain liberation. You're going to achieve enlightenment. You are. Like, with those four principles and the practice of going inward in meditation, eventually we will all come to that state. You'll recognize that you already are enlightened. You already are the Atma. You already are the soul. You already are the infinite presence playing its role in this game. And then you have the freedom to choose. When you have the freedom to choose, that's when your manifestational power is at its highest. When you are freely choosing the thoughts that you think, the words that you speak, the behaviors that you enact, everything becomes your blessing, right? Everything becomes your gift to the world, and vice versa, and it reflects backwards. You are in such a high, powerful, emotional pulling state, right? The stronger the emotion, the stronger the pulling power. And so when you are practicing loving kindness and sympathetic joy, even if you just practice those two, loving kindness, I extend love to all beings. May all beings be happy. Right? May all beings be happy. May all beings be able to recognize that there is happiness waiting for them. You are filling yourself up with that. And after you fill yourself, I'm going to adjust this. After you fill yourself up with that, what does that mean? It means you've changed your vibration. Right? When I feel that emotion, it immediately changes my vibration. And everything that I desire, all the things that I want, exist in that higher vibrational frequency. And love and joy are my indications, my emotional guidance system, that I am aligned with that manifestation, that I am aligned with that desire. And after I align with that desire and hold true to it, it must come into my experience. That's the promise of the law of attraction. So let's practice those things, right? You, by extending love, by extending joy, by being excited for somebody else's wins, are literally putting yourself in the vibrational state where you too will receive that. My little quick story, anecdote, is before Sean and I met, after I broke up with my ex and didn't meet Shauna for 2 years, I really practiced sympathetic joy, unknowingly. I was practicing being excited when I would see couples holding hands, when I would see couples laughing, when I would see couples kissing, when I would see this unification of spirit amongst different couples regardless of age. And I would honestly, in my mind, go, wow, it's so exciting. Thank you, universe. Thank you, source, for showing me that too is going to be mine. Oh, that's so awesome that they have that. That's so wonderful that couple has that. And I know that, universe, you're showing me that because it's soon to be mine too. Instead of feeling as if source or the universe was teasing me with that couple, I said, thank you. I was practicing sympathetic joy. And lo and behold, a year later, I met the perfect woman for me. And she's in that door, through the garage door, sitting with our awesome puppy, Odin. And I get to go give them both kisses when I get off this bicycle. To me, hearing of these four immeasurables, it was a reminder to get back into that state of being. This works even when we're in the midst of suffering. It's much harder to go from depression to loving kindness, right? It's much harder to go from depression and despair to compassion or sympathetic joy. But that's why this is a practice, because we're not always going to be there. As we practice it, we're going to get better. We're going to get stronger. Those muscles are going to get stronger. So by just acknowledging that these are the four immeasurables, these four measurables are these practices, these principles that we can begin to embody makes a difference. Saying, oh, well, I can't do that right now, that's fair. Like nobody's saying, I'm not suggesting that you just change from despair, depression to loving kindness and compassion and balanced state of mind, equanimity. I'm saying that let this be your lamp. Let this be your guidepost. Let these four principles, these four practices be your focus so that you can begin moment by moment starting to change your perspective. And maybe this video is inspiration enough to really get you to remember, yes, I can do these things. I can practice a little bit of loving kindness. I can practice hoping that people are well. Right? I can practice this generalized hopefulness of well-being for all beings. I can hope that. I can also hope that all beings are free from suffering, compassion. I can hope that too. I can hope that all beings recognize the successes in their lives, the joys in their lives, the wins in their lives. Sympathetic joy, yeah, I can do that. And I can hope that I will find balance in my own mind for these different experiences that I'm having. I may not be there right now, but I can begin to practice that steadiness of mind. I can begin to acknowledge the duality of this, the dualistic nature of this reality, of our physical reality, right? We have light and dark, happy, sad, good, bad, all that. It's duality. But I really love what Ram Dass says, and I'm going to try to not bastardize it, so stick with me. He says, oh my gosh, I'm losing it. I lost it. I wanted to share it with you. The something something is the one that lies just behind the two. The richness of the moment is the one that lies just behind the two. Excuse me. The richness of the moment is the one that lies just behind the two. What I mean by that is, and what he means by that is, behind this dualistic nature of this reality is the ever-present spirit of both creation and creator. Right? That's the one. The infinite presence, source, God, right? That is the one behind the two that we are seeing with our physical senses, that we are experiencing with our physical senses. Right? So that, having that perspective, that equanimity, right, is this balanced state of mind because I'm stepping away from the external and I'm stepping into the heart. I'm stepping away from outside of myself, seeing everything as one or two, black or white, happy, sad. And instead I'm going to go inward through my meditative practice. I'm going to take that 20 to 30 minutes a day and I'm going to go inward and I'm going to feel what's happening inside my body. I'm not going to avoid it. I'm going to let it be. Excuse me. And in doing so, I'm going to step out of the dualistic nature of reality and I'm going to step into the unified, true nature of all things. That's a very powerful practice. It's tough, it's rough, but it's achievable. It just takes the time. It takes practice. Like Jason Mraz says, in Life is Wonderful, it takes some work to make it work. Wu Wei, effortless action. What a conundrum, effortless action. Wu Wei, it means, yes, I must be doing something, but maybe the doing is not as important as the being, right? So if I'm being, it's still a process, it's still a practice of bringing myself, my attention, my focus inward. I am being, that is an active process. But yet, I am simply here, right? That's the effortlessness. I am accepting this moment as it is with clarity of perception. I'm accepting this as it is. Doesn't mean that I can't want it to change or have desire for it to change, desire to have more money, desire to be healthier, desire to be in a relationship, whatever that is. It's just that right now, I'm going to accept equanimity. I'm going to accept that right now, this moment is happening. And I cannot get away from it, and I cannot change it right now. But I can accept the richness of the moment because I'm stepping away from the two and I'm embodying the one. Oh, beautiful flowery words, right? Beautiful flowery words. Sounds good, sounds sexy. Sounds fun to me. Hey, we're just all gonna achieve enlightenment and we'll all be joyful. Great, I wish that for you. But sometimes it's not that easy. Sometimes chaos of life changes us. Sometimes, like 2 months ago, we have to have a stent placed in our coronary artery, our left descending artery, the widowmaker, and you have to accept that. As much as you want it to change, as much as I wanted to change that, there's nothing I could do about it. I could wait, but if a 90% block is there, very likely I'm gonna have a heart attack soon. Maybe not. Maybe the story of the farmer, Chinese farmer, maybe yes, maybe no. Who knows? So, but we make our choices, and then once we have made our choices, we can begin to shape those choices a little differently in our minds. I could have given up and said, you know what? F it. I did everything right. I ate a vegan diet for the last 20 plus years. 20 years? 20 years? 25 years. I've exercised 5 days a week for the last 20 years. I do my best to find joy and peace and blah, blah, blah. And oh, frick it, it's what's the use? I got this blockage in my coronary artery. What's the use? Or I have the opportunity to go the other direction and say, you know what? That was just a reminder. That was just a lesson. That was just part of my curriculum to help me understand how I was living then, when it manifested, when it showed up. All right. So it showed me what I needed to know. And how am I going to go forward living this new experience with the awareness of that? How am I going to go forward living more loving kindness, more compassion, more sympathetic joy, more equanimity? Right? If I can go forward living more of that. And like we talked about in our last live video, we talked about loving fearlessly and loving freely. So all these things, they tie in together. What a beautiful way to live our lives. Does that mean shit's always going to be perfect? Absolutely not. Because we may not be on the right path. We may not be attracting the right things because we're refusing to acknowledge our shadow work, if you will. The shadows that are still present that we are not taking seriously. My shadow work is always to understand my anger and understand my rage from having leukemia as a child and watching the suffering of those young kids and their family members and my family members and wanting to so badly not have had that happen and to live a different life. It's part of my work. But that's why I share these videos, because when these things pop into my mind, maybe you're also experiencing something similarly, and this can help. This can remind you, right, of these four immeasurables: to live fearlessly and to love, live fearlessly and live freely, to love fearlessly and to love freely. Right? I love you so deeply, so much. Loving kindness, I extend that to you. Doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter what you've done. I'm going to practice that anyways. Right? I'm going to practice it. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to try. I'm going to try. And it may be a tough process, but I'm going to do it anyways, because in the end, it's for both of us. Right? We're one soul playing our roles as different physical incarnations. We're one spirit, right? We're this global consciousness. And because I'm an extension of that, I'm going to love you anyways. I'm going to love you anyways. It's going to be difficult. And so the person that I despise the most is going to be my best teacher. And I'm going to have compassion for you. And I'm going to reach out compassion. I want you to be free of suffering. I'm going to have a sympathetic consciousness of your distress. and I'm going to have a desire to alleviate it. That's my desire. That's for me, and it's for us. I'm gonna root you on when you win, and I'm gonna be your fan, and I'm gonna keep cheering you on. Sympathetic joy. And I'm gonna have easy, balanced state of mind. Right? So if you say something to me, I'm gonna incorporate what they say in the 4 agreements, and I'm not gonna take anything personally. Right? That's number 1, or one of them. Never take anything personally. Always do your best. Be impeccable with your word, and never make assumptions. So, if you say something to me, I'm not going to take it personally, because I know that that is your own fear. That is your own insecurity. It has nothing to do with me. That's equanimity. Evenness, steadiness of mind. In equanimity, it's almost as if you are a superhuman, right? You have super consciousness. You see everything. You're on the mountain peak. Why would an eagle be angry for flying above in the clouds? No reason. I accept everything down here. I accept it. I understand it. You've climbed the mountain. Equanimity. You're at the peak of the mountaintop. You can see with a clear perspective. You have this clarity of vision. Wow, I can see everyone down there, and I don't need to judge them. And when they're yelling at me, hey, somebody must have carried you up there. No, you'll soon be up here too. Right? I don't want you to suffer. Take that path to the right. I've been that way. I went left. It didn't work. You have to go right. I'm going to go left anyways. Okay, as you wish. As you wish. Name that movie. Put it in the comments. I just watched it 2 nights ago. These 4 immeasurables really affected how I began to see things, how I began to put things into just started compiling data points, right? And I went, wow, when I really was practicing these 4 immeasurables, everything in life seemed easy because I was doing it unconsciously. I was practicing compassion. I was practicing sympathetic joy. I was extending love and kindness, and I wanted everyone to be happy. And I was balanced. My mind was balanced. How did I get so far away from that? Well, life happened. I began to think that I needed to change to be something for somebody else or some other people or for myself, to be regarded as differently, blah, 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 blah. That's just another story that the ego created, that my ego said, all right, let's see if you can get this. Let's see if you're as wise as you are, Zach. Let's have some stuff happen. Let's see if you can stay steady of mind, or if the anger and the rage comes up. Let's see if you can stay, extend loving kindness when somebody's hurting you or somebody you love. Let's see if you can have compassion when you see terrible things happening. Whew, it's not fun, right? It's not fun. It's a hard test. Life is a curriculum. It's such a beautiful curriculum, though, because when we come back to these states, I really feel in a good space right now. But it took so much to get me back here. I didn't need for all those things to happen with my heart and with my nervous system, with all these other things health-wise. I didn't need that to happen. It's just that I refused to take the lesson. I refused to let that be part of my curriculum. And instead I pushed. My ego pushed. Wanted to do it all itself. But that's not why we're here, beautiful beings. We're here together in this collective soup consciousness as different extensions in physical forms. Awesome. Such a fun journey. So those are the 4 immeasurables. I kind of ranted and raved. I appreciate you guys watching. I love you. Right. You should know them by now. Loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. So those are our 4 immeasurables. We incorporate all those. We love fearlessly and we love freely. And voila, you are enlightened beings. You are now creating all that you could possibly want. You are now being the light. You're being the guidepost for others. You're being everything that you've ever read about, that you've ever listened to. You're being it. You're embodying it. And you did it all because you put in the effort. But it wasn't hard work. It was a little hard. It was the Wu way, right? The effortless action. You decided to follow your heart. Right? You decided to follow this beautiful structure within you that emits such a beautiful electromagnetic frequency that changes the whole world around you. You decided to do that, and I'm proud of you for that. I love you for that, and thank you for watching. We have reached our 30 minutes. My friends, you guys are awesome. I hope you have a wonderful night and you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Practice those 4 immeasurables, learn more about them. Put some comments down below so maybe we can talk about them on our next live. And until then, my friends, you are safe, you are loved, you are protected, and you are worthy. That is the council's promise, that is Source's promise from them, through me, to you. I love you. Talk to you next time. Bye.